This is a video for the installation of my Acumen Cat 21 motorcycle alarm. Just really wanted to walk through with you what I did to install this alarm system. It's supposed to be a ProFit alarm, but as I said in my previous video, Acumen were happy to sell me the alarm and do my own installation. And the bike that it's on is a Suzuki GSXR-600 K7. The first thing I did after taking the alarm out of the box was decide where to position the main unit, and it's got an integrated siren, and you can see down there is the main loom that comes from the alarm. I think it's pretty easy to fit. This is the first alarm I've ever fitted to a bike, and you really don't need a Suzuki wiring diagram. The diagram that comes from Acumen with the alarm system to assist the installer is, I think, all you need. What you do need is a multimeter to find earth points, or reassure yourself that you've got earth points, and also to find live feeds and switched live when the ignition is on. You need those. So I'll just quickly walk through the installation anyway. So first thing I've done was screw the alarm system to the bike. There's not a lot of room in these GSX-R600s. I used to have a Kawasaki ZX-6R, and there was room for an alarm towards the back there, and also I had a power commander in there as well. But there's not really very much room to get a power commander in here. But I'm not planning on getting one anyway on this occasion, so I'm not really that bothered about that. So position of the alarm first. I fed all the wires. Well, actually, I'll start at this end. The wires that you can see coiled there, I haven't used. The yellow one is if you want the alarm to arm automatically with all of the functions, like so including protecting the starting circuit and also shock sensor and nudge sensor. If you want all of those to arm automatically, you just ground that yellow wire. I didn't. I think that's a pain in the backside really to do that. So you know, when you're filling up with fuel and that sort of thing, you don't really want your alarm going off while you've got the filler in your gas tank, and also for just sort of walking your bike around while the ignition's off. You don't want to have to keep switching your alarm off and etc. with that arming passively. So I haven't installed the yellow wire, so my bike will just protect the ignition circuit automatically after 50 seconds when I turn the ignition off. And if I want all of the alarm functions, so if I want shock sensor and nudge sensor, then I just arm that part manually. So that's my preference. But so that yellow wire won't be used unless I decide to change all of that. And the other wire in there that you can probably just about see, it's got a green and yellow tag on it. It's a black wire. Is if you want to fit an accessory like an additional siren or a pager, you know, that sort of thing, then it's expandable to have those sort of accessories. So so that's not being used at the moment. So the wiring goes under this part of the frame, and I've got it wrapped in yellow heat shrink. So it works its way down here, and there's only a couple of wires to connect really to get your alarm working. The Acumen recommend that you don't fit it to your battery positive, the live. Don't fit it to the battery positive, but to fit it to the starter solenoid. So that's what I have done, following the instructions. And you can see it's fused as well. So the only reason Acumen recommend that you don't fit it to the battery is because it's a black. Well, I've made it red, but it's a black wire, and it's just really to protect you. So if you take your battery off and you think, why have I got this black wire attached to my the positive side of the battery, you might connect it incorrectly. So it's only really just as to make it idiot-proof, and that's the only reason why they tell you not to fit it to the positive side of the battery, but to fit it to the starter solenoid. In fact, you could fit it to any permanent live wire, but because it's just a ring connector and it's easy to do, then that's how I done that. The other wire that needs to be fitted needs to go to a switched live, so it needs to be live only when the ignition is switched on. And Acumen recommend that you splice that into the ignition circuit, which is underneath the fuse box. So that's exactly what I did do. A lot of people will splice it into their brake light, so that obviously only comes on when the ignition is on. So any circuit really that only comes on when the ignition is on, you can use that. But I used the ignition circuit just because that's what Acumen recommended, and it's my first installation, so I tried to do it all by the book. This coiled wire here is for the alarm as well. 2 green tags. Now that circuit is for a switch, so that if somebody tries to take the seat off, then that's going to set the alarm off, and it's a magnetic switch. And I'm still just trying to figure a place to put the switch, because most of the bits around here are all metal, and it needs to screw in somewhere. So I think I'll probably end up positioning it somewhere along here on top of the tail section, which is obviously all plastic, that piece over there. So I'll probably fit it to the underside of that somehow, but I've yet to figure that bit out. I've used these quick release connector blocks just so that I can remove the tail section without having to unscrew wires. So that one there, that feeds into the rear indicators, and that's what enables the front and rear indicators to flash. And this one is for the LED, and I've got far too much wire there, so I've just kind of tied it all together to neaten it. But really, if I wanted to go overboard, then I could have really just cut that to exact length, and that would have made it even neater. But all of my connections are all of my spliced connections are soldered and wrapped in insulating tape. So, and also all of my connections are, I put heat shrink around them to just protect the wires. The last thing I'll show you is, if you can just about see it, is the position of the shock sensor. That's there. So I've got it velcroed to the side and the top of the frame, and so that's where that's positioned. And this, just see the end of this purple wire that I've got held down with Gorilla Tape. That's just the receiver for the remote. So that's all there is to it. Now this is part of the alarm system as well. That's earthed because Acumen say if you want a more sensitive shock sensor, a nudge sensor, then earth this wire, and that's going to make it much more sensitive. And I did find that it wasn't very sensitive without that, so I've fitted it, and it's still not very, very sensitive. I used to have a data tool alarm, and you only have to touch the chain, or hardly just touch the bike, and it used to chirp at you and give you a warning that it was armed. And but the Acumen, it certainly isn't going to go off on a windy day or when something passes the bike. You've really, I've found anyway, that you've almost got to hold the bike upright from over on its stand before the alarm will go off. So it's not ever so sensitive, but it's probably all right. I'm quite happy with it, really. And that's about it. The only other wire that I didn't show you was the earth for the alarm, and I've got that there. So that's all there is to it. Just turn into the tailpiece. Again, that down there, that's the LED. Now, rather stupidly, I drilled too large a hole in the tail section, so I've got it wrapped there in about 3 or 4 layers of heat shrink, and it sits quite nicely now in there. And that's the other end of the block connector, and that's the one for the indicators. So that's it. If you've got any questions, let me know.